Welcome to Belmont Poetry Night. I'm Monica Korde, your host and the Poet Laureate of Belmont, California. We meet on the third Tuesdays of every month to celebrate the spoken word as makers, listeners, and admirers of poetry. We come with featured guests and an open mic, inviting readers of all ages. After gathering for several years at our favorite physical venue, the Belmont Library, since the pandemic, our thriving poetry circle has transitioned to this virtual space, and I'm grateful this allows me to welcome poets and listeners from across the globe. It's a joy always to see you all, and your smiles really brighten up the Zoom room, and I'm really grateful all of you could join today. Before we jump in, I wanted to share a little news. Some of you may have already heard, but for others, this might be new. My tenure as Belmont's Poet Laureate is drawing to a close this year. I'm taking a deep breath of gratitude as I say that. Yes, it's been a while serving for 4 years, and what a journey. So, tonight is the penultimate poetry night of this series. But I also want to add that we will still have two more events ahead for tonight, after tonight, and I'll be curating and hosting our final virtual poetry night on the third Tuesday of November, which will be the November 18th. And it would be a grand concluding celebration to our poetry nights, featuring some of the most inspiring poets from our community here, and a surprise which is waiting to be unveiled. Following that, I'm also thrilled to be organizing a special farewell event in December, which gives us the opportunity to meet outside the Zoom room. And it would be a Poet Laureate farewell celebration with a community open mic by the fireside at one of my most beloved spaces here in the city, the Belmont Library, of course. This would be an in person gathering in the afternoon with some music and poetry and community on the 6th of December. And I'll share more details on email for both events, for the last poetry night as well as the farewell celebration. But please save the dates for now. November 18th on Zoom and December 6th in person in Belmont. And you know, I'd love to see you, all of you there, virtually as well as in person. And some of you I see here are new or haven't joined in a while. If you're not already on my mailing list and would like to hear more about the final events, feel free to post your email for me in the chat. I'll also drop mine just in case, so you can reach me there as well. I'll post all the information in the chat later on. And one last thing, as the next step, the search for Belmont's next Poet Laureate is underway. If you are a Belmont resident poet and interested in applying, now's the time to get started. You don't want to miss the deadline. I'll drop the application link in the chat today and send it later on email as well. So yeah, just keep an eye out and be sure to save all the details. But thank you really for being here, for the unwavering support you've given me all the way through my laureateship. I have a lot to share, but I'll reserve all of that and hold on to all my emotions for our time together at the final events. And yeah, that was it. What I really wanted to just give you a glimpse of or give you an idea of what's coming. But for now, back to where we are. Let's continue with our poetry night tradition. Please drop in the chat where you are joining me from, whether it's your city, state, or country, or county. And I always love seeing the places that connects us. So please keep them coming, and thank you again for sharing this space tonight with all of us and together. So
While those
moving on.
while those cities and places are coming in, I'm actually Jasmine from the Belmont Library, and I wanted to say like Monica's done a very good job, and we're very happy to have Monica as our poet laureate. So I just wanted to interject and say
Thank you,
just
Jasmine.
give
That's
you
so
a
sweet of
round of
you.
applause.
Thank you. That's real sweet of you. Thank you for taking that moment, Jasmine. So yeah, as I was saying, for the past couple of years, I've had the joy of curating an October Poetry Spotlight as a special addition to our regular poetry nights, showcasing a collection of inspiring voices. And many of you have been part of those past events as well. And this year, the spotlight is back, shining on the vibrant and compelling voices of our youth poets. Since October is National Arts and Humanities Month, also, we are centering tonight's poetry night around the theme Youth Arts in Action. We'll dive more into the theme and meet our featured poets in just a bit. But first, I'd like to open with a poem, as usual. This one from a voice that's fierce, bold, and absolutely brilliant. Alarum by Amanda Gorman. We are writing as the daughter of a dying world, as its new-faced alert. In math, the slash, also called the solidus, means division, divided by. We were divided from each other, person, person. Some griefs, like rivers, are uncrossable. They are not to be waded across, but walked beside. Our loss, colossal and blossomed, is never lost on us. Love the earth like we've failed it. To put it plain, we have shipwrecked the earth, soiled the soil, and run the ground aground. Listen, we are the loud toll on this planet. Our future needs us, alarmed. Man is a myth in the making. What is now dust will not return, not the beloveds, nor their breath, nor the sugar-crumbling glaciers, nor the crows chewing on their own soured song, nor all the species slashed down in one smogged swoop. Extinction is a chorus of quiet punching that same note. What can never be brought back can still be brought forth in memory, in mouth, in mind. To say it plain is to tell only half of the story. Thank you. As many of you know, Amanda Gorman, the first Youth Poet Laureate of the United States, appointed in 2017, has since become a global icon for young voices everywhere. And I remember listening to one of her radiant and powerful pieces on the Slowdown podcast, which was then hosted by the 22nd US Poet Laureate, Tracy K. Smith. And Smith's words from that episode have stayed with me. And she wrote, "Thankfully, there is a new generation of young activist poets whose poems are fueled by the desire not only to describe the world as they know it, but to champion the world as it could or ought to be." Having had the joy of featuring and engaging with many youth poets over the years now, through this series and at other community events, also meeting other youth artists who are musicians or doing other art in different forms, I can feel Smith's reflection echo through each time. The young poets and artists I've met continue to write or create with the same passion, clarity, and most importantly, conviction that reimagine the world in powerful and hopeful ways. And I believe our Youth Poets Laureate especially embody that spirit. They are not just powerful writers, but also thoughtful change makers using poetry to open hearts and spark dialogue. So, tonight, I'm really delighted to feature two remarkable voices whose work reflect the strength, hope, and vision of their generation, and who are currently serving as Youth Poets Laureate. And it's my absolute pleasure to welcome Daly City Youth Poet Laureate Caylie Chiu and Santa Cruz County Youth Poet Laureate Finn Maxwell. Before I go on to introduce each of them, I wanted to share that we'll go about things a little differently tonight. Rather than our usual blend of poems and conversation, we'll begin by hearing each of our youth poets read their work first. Then we'll come together afterward for a short conversation, a group discussion, and a few questions to learn more about their creative journeys. So, if you are ready, let's dive in, beginning first with Caylie Chiu. She currently serves as the 2025-26 Daly City Youth Poet Laureate and is a high school sophomore. Growing up in the Bay Area, her work is inspired by social justice and change, her heritage, and self discovery. You can find her reciting poems around the Bay, participating in her school's public speaking related clubs, and volunteering around Daly City. And I have met Caylie a few times, so it has been such a joy. All yours, Caylie, the mic is all yours.
Thank you so much, Monica. And like before I start reading, I just want to like kind of like give my comments on like what you mentioned before in the beginning with your term as Belmont Poet Laureate coming to a close. And I just wanted to like give like my thanks to you. You've always been like I've always appreciated your voice whenever you present your poems. And I think I remember like being in seventh grade or seventh or eighth grade, when I first attended one of these like, um, one of these like virtual poetry readings,
Right.
and just kind of like seeing myself grow along the way, like comparing like that eighth grade self to the person I am now. It's like really a testament to like how much poetry has like shaped me, and kind of like the person that I want to become. So, as kind of like a testament to that, the first poem I'm going to be reading is actually one I submitted to the Daly City Youth Poet Laureate program. It was part of my submission, and this poem is titled Stargazer. In a single day throughout every year, if the sunset marked another passage of time, you'd find me seated in the backyard before midnight dawns on us all, and I'd close my eyes, whisper prayers when there should have been certainty in my thoughts, and simply imagine starlight grounding itself on Earth's floor throughout street lights and more, its reflection scintillating light through the darkness of the worlds only to open them and see my lantern beside my blanketed feet in assurance that I wasn't alone. Even if those midnights had witnessed me before, to them I was still a mere speck of dust in the expanse of the universe, one who pressed the cold midnight air deep into their chest until my lungs expanded far enough to reach out to the moonlight before me, whispering confessions under my breath in place of a prayer, so the colder winds had a chance to carry my secrets back to the stars above. And in the meantime, I traced their framework in search of a constellation, but still, I'm a dreamer after all, oblivious to secrets I left behind as midnight dawns on the clock, and inhale that colder wind so its secrets lie deep within my lungs until I release that confession in remembrance of another day. Thank you. Um, So this next poem was one that I submitted to a separate poetry contest, which is hosted by the amazing Antonio Lopez, who's another poet within the Bay Area community. So this piece is titled Red Cloth Unfolding, which is a poem about culture, by the way. Love me now until I collapse into the person I become today. When my skin splits apart into two halves of thread and ribbon, peel back on my body, but instead of blood, you find layers of cloth stained blue and yellow on what was supposed to be simply a red canvas of two worlds sewn together. Peel one more layer, and you'd find the first time I learned that a layer of myself was built on the hands of my mother, incense smoking away into my nostrils, but still clutched in her hands, burning through the part of my throat that ruptures back into English lines of poetry, mother tongue, reminding me when I realized again that sometimes tradition can be something sewn into my American mind, even if it's passed down from my ancestors to whisper down as a testament to how much I lost from living in a post-pandemic society, for I have never felt the way incense prayers nestle themselves into my spine, the same way honor becomes something shoved into my bloodline, so my relatives can call me a child of every tradition that they helped create, wrapped into the red flag made up of 50 states, combined with the southern city that I never stepped over, but was taught to love, even if picturing it became a constant reminder of the centuries of tradition whispered back into my ears until they sounded like prayers being sent back from the smoking incense I burned next to notebooks of unfinished lines of poetry, the paper becoming something I pressed into my skin that I sew myself with until I become a quilted body filled with the love I have felt from the family, born of two flags I have learned to love together just as much as the layers of myself I have yet to understand, but I'll never forget how much those worlds etched themselves into my layered being, similar to the lines of poetry that I painted onto that same quilted red canvas I can finally understand. Thank you. Yeah.
Keep
So,
it going, Kaylie. You're doing
oh,
fantastic.
how much time do I have left, by the way?
You have some time left, so yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
We've
okay,
just heard two poems from you, so we want more.
okay, yes. It's great.
Thank you.
Okay, let me see. Okay, so this next poem, um, this one I performed at the Chill Spot Rendezvous, which was an event that I remember like Monica has been at. So this poem is titled Astronomy, and I'd say it's definitely like a more personal poem to me. It kind of documents like growing up as a girl in the Bay Area and also represents like those fragile parts of yourself that you wish that you could go back to because you were younger back then, but you never want to feel helpless, basically. And I think this poem really like represents that for me personally. Okay, so here is my poem, Astronomy. Allow me to project a piece of my girlhood onto the sky's mosaic until I rise from my slumber to leave starlight behind, releasing its dust into the galaxy, held in a planetarium of memories, my soul pressed into its walls, the dome-like shape bathed in a sea of darkness. Allow me to step back and take control of the projector, emitting its light, radiating its centerpiece as the sun in the ocean of this contained universe, and for another moment, showcase a different projection. The pictures of myself, an image laced with the linings of my soul, containing the same body I pressed into the planetarium's walls so I can look up at the illuminations surrounding me of worn toy dolls and used up notebooks filled with diary entries spilling out dreams of being princesses and hopes of old crushes from middle school. Read further, and you'd find my first hope of being the youngest author in the world culminated from a story I made up before crossing the bridge to what I thought of as adulthood, but call adulthood. The first time I asked myself, what body am I meant to grow into if all I will be is judged? So I tore up those diary entries and scrapped those dreams of becoming an author for astronomy instead. But rather than studying about the atmosphere of the stars, I gazed at them longingly into the night, high school melting back into realizing that I am not enough or ready for adulthood either, but I am only learning how to feel complete and painting the sky with my stories with that same inner voice from elementary school. So in the future, maybe they won't be trapped in the dome of a projected planetarium and instead be woven into the same sky I gazed at in high school. Allow me to step forward on that projection and continue to paint my story into the stars. Thank you. Sorry, just a moment. Okay, I have one more poem again that was one of the poems that I submitted to the Daly City Youth Poet Laureate program. And um, this one kind of represents when um, kind of like a longing for someone that you can't really return to. Um, and similar to the previous poem, Astronomy, there's kind of a like a night sky motif in here. Except this one kind of dives into deeper the feeling of going on a journey with yourself. So one poem that represents that is my poem Nightfall's Requiem, which I will be presenting right now. The dusk-filled winter floods the night in its earthly grace, flowing through the river where I stood before the moon's gaze, stars staring down at me while I longed for an embrace that the waves never gave away, because this day I shut my eyes. Perception changed and imagined it was you and I, staying beside the river on the final day before you departed, sneaking out at the start of summer for a midnight view of the water. You turned to me, smiled like the fools we were, and begged us to get lost at sea before the winter took over again. I exhaled, opening my eyes to the empty expanse. Standing before a sunset the same way you did with me before time transpired us closer to adulthood. You would have hugged me under that moonlit sky as I pressed my body back to home, finding nothing more than that weighted longing for each other, bodies swimming beneath the waves that looked as if they were dancing. The night I pictured myself beside you again, we swam through that river, seemingly reaching towards the moon as we inched towards the sky, because this time there was nothing more than that same longing to be back again, swimming beneath lights, young hearts growing bright through our chests, even if the silver linings of adolescence broke apart as we clawed out for the memories we knew wouldn't return. I pointed my finger towards the sky until it sparked a light as a lantern, guiding me with its light, my body still swimming beneath the stars, even if that river diverges into crossroads I wouldn't be able to find, I will still let the tide consume me with my fragile wanting like we did when we were lost, only at sea, together between me and you. On the last day you were seen, our final moment before we had a future to look to. Thank you. Yeah. So that is the last poem I have for today. Um, Thank you so much to everyone.
Well, Kaylee, look at you. That was, wow, what should I say? I just take some snippets from the poems that you read. You can see lots of them floating around in the chat as well. Lines that have really touched people and moved them and stayed with them. The way you began, I loved it. The way you opened up. I am a dreamer now,
Oh,
like you say in your poem, and in the culture poem as well. It's really strong the way you put yourself out there, talking about the two halves, the quilted body, born of two flags. I love the way you've put those lines and in such beautiful metaphors. Even as you talk about growing up, allow me to project a piece of my girlhood. The way you begin the poems as well, I love that it's very expansive as an image. And the planetarium of memories that you talk about, or painting the sky with stories, or this using the same elementary school voice, harking back to that, and the bodies swimming beneath the waves, all of the sky, night sky motifs and metaphors, and your imagery and voice really stays with us. And I'm sure everyone listening here will agree with me. That was such a beautiful reading, Kaylee. So powerful and thoughtful. I'd like to encourage everyone to unmute for a quick sec so we can make our applause heard. No questions right now, but I would love if you have any welcome praise and brief comments for Kaylee. And yeah, it will be wonderful to hear what you have to say to her. Go ahead,
yeah.
please.
Kaylie, you make me feel like a piker. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
Very inspiring and beautifully read. Keep on writing.
Oh,
I really appreciated, Kaylee, how often you would start in a relatively normal tone, and as each poem went on, that just gained momentum. I felt you were taking us on a train trip, and the locomotive was getting stronger and
oh,
stronger as you got near the end of the poem. I love how you read your poems.
oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it's kind of something I try to like emphasize, like with my poems. Like, I think it's also kind of like a theme within a lot of them, like especially with the theme of like growing up and you kind of like it's like you mentioned before, it's like a train ride, like a long journey that you're not sure when it will end, but you know it's something that you'll enjoy.
I must say, it's a lovely record, your poem, of that struggle to your dreams and how to find your way. I mean, you remind me how I felt.
Oh, thank you so much.
But we never stop. We never
Yeah, we never
stop
stop.
figuring out where the heck, how do we be? So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you all for sharing your reflections, Kaylee. That was absolutely captivating. And like all the other poets said, just to put it all together, your reading really drew us in from the very first line. So thoughtful and confident and full of heart. And I love how your poetry balances vulnerability with strength and offering such a clear and authentic voice that stays with the listener. And I'm really excited to hear more about your journey as a poet, all of us are. During our Q&A, we'll take it up, and I'll circle back to you soon again.
Thank you so much to everyone.
All right, and now let's welcome our next featured Youth Poet Laureate, Finn Maxwell, current Youth Poet Laureate for Santa Cruz County. He is a high school senior and writes short stories and poems, often taking inspiration from his home in Boulder Creek. Finn's work has been recognized by the Scholastic Writing Awards and the Iowa Young Writers Studio. When he isn't writing, he spends his time painting or at the river. I love doing that as well, Finn. But yeah, there we go. What a fantastic intro there. Let's hear from you now.
Hi, everyone. First of all, I just wanted to thank you, Caylie, for that amazing reading. I I don't even know how I'm supposed to follow that. That was beautiful. Um, like someone said, like your intensity with which you read. I mean, you're an incredible reader. And I loved all that imagery of the imagery you kept returning to with the stars. And I think I wrote down one line that I think that we can all love as writers and readers. You said the paper being something that I press into my skin, that I sew myself with. And I was just like, wow, I love that. I love that feeling of, like that out the arts being something that kind of that sews you back together again. I love that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much too.
Um, so I mean, I don't have a lot of commentary on the poems that I'm gonna read tonight. Um, this first one that I'm starting with is I also read it for as part of my application process to be a Youth Poet Laureate. And I remember the day that I went in to read it, I was horribly sick. I had a terrible fever and I kept skipping over words and rambling. And I remember when they emailed me and they're like, "Oh, you got it." I was like, "How?" I was I was stumbling around, but I'm very grateful. I'm grateful that they liked it despite that. This is a poem about painting out at the beach in Santa Cruz because I think it was in my introduction. I really love to paint, and it's called en plein air, which is a term you probably know for painting outside. So yeah, I'm just gonna jump into it. Lately, I've been yearning to obtain the graceful sorrow of La Pieta in my painting. The marble shone like a tear. I have been believing in other myths. If you look up through the wind chimes' wooden tunnels, you will hear the ocean and the little boy who steals buckets from it and dashes away and hides. When I am in the open air, waves come down upon the shore and mold into the hands of prayer. The nails, the pale wrinkles of the tide dig into wet sand and beg for penance. My paint is dry before I can lay it. The ocean chases the boy, my brush frayed, strokes messy, and the painting is muddled into a single shape that melts from the canvas like an old candle, long abandoned in the good night. So yeah. That was kind of just about I feel like when I'm painting, I'm trying to hold on to an image. And oh, hi guys, I'm seeing all the emojis. I feel like I'm trying to hold on to an image and I never really feel like I can hold on to it well enough. I always find myself looking back on things and I've kind of forgotten what they felt like or what they looked like, and it doesn't always feel too great. Um, the next one that I'm moving on to is a little bit longer. I always get nervous reading long poems, so stay with me. Um, this one's a very personal poem. I hope you guys enjoy it. This is called Age. I believe nothing could live in the stunted quiet, when age finds us like children hiding in tree trunks or beneath the tides of the pool. When we drive one car, now that we are one less than before. In the afternoons, I trace the notes etched into my dresser from my father's time as a child. They breathe age into my clothes, smells of open fields. Age is the order in which we sit at family dinner with gaping cracks the size of oceans and waves that break upon my head when the silence, like a house abandoned, comes into view. My dog hunts a fly in the kitchen as we wait for our family to return home. It buzzes. It is too fast for him to bite. We stand and listen. It is that age which has turned apricot blooms into rotted skins. It made her 3 years my senior, when once she was 6. The setting sun reminds me of my Nana's golden cornicello that I breathed into once, years ago, and I prayed to hear a sound. But age had already cursed it to that inhospitable silence shared by the vultures circling the California foothills. The old man at the counseling office aches with age when he demands that I become someone. My sister, the picture of her draped in her graduation gown. My father, he is tossing and groaning in the night. My mother, her past is painted in the portraits of a million women, while I remain only half her son. In the evening, the deer denting the grass outside my bedroom window has nearly lost herself to age. Like a plague that hides itself in her eye, black as the tourmaline my mother hung heavy from her neck. It is her, as well as the rifle and the bullet, that abandons her, bleeding, while her doe searches the undergrowth for something sweet to bite. Age demands I show forgiveness. It is more convincing than God. That's how. Thank you. Thanks everybody. Moving on to something more lighthearted. This is one I wrote in the summer because I love summer. And I stole the title from this collection that was sitting outside Bad Animal, which is a bookstore in downtown Santa Cruz. But I only know the title of that book because it was in the background of this blurry photo I took. So I don't know the author or even where it came from. So I apologize to that anonymous author for my plagiarism. I stole his title. This is Poets in the Summers of Their Youth. We were resting in the womb of the forest where the shadows of the leaves continued to dance the tango across our weary eyelids, even when we closed them. Beneath the streaming water, my worn nerves learned how to freeze, and once we were the cool water, but now the sand, and once we flowed, but now we are kicked. How my body shrank beneath the waterfall of youth in my summers as a child, poet. The swollen aches of fear subsided, eased by the stream that took the shape of angels just to dance upon our shoulders. The dragonflies, the lizards, the swallows, crawling back home to us, the speakers of their wishes. Because the ice had just melted, the mountain veins began to run wild again. Now a couple takes to the far bank. 1, 2, 3 laughs, I count. Silence. Thank you. And if I have time, Monica, I don't know. I'm doing good. All right. Um, I'm caught between I should read a really tragic one or a okay
Read
one.
both. Read both, Finn.
Okay, then I'll start with the tough one because I don't like to end on really sad notes. But this is from when I was experimenting with sonnets. Um, and when I did not know how hard it was before I tried. This took me like 4 hours of just sitting there Googling synonyms and like going like and like saying them out loud like ba bum ba bum. I looked crazy. I sounded crazy. But I want to get into writing them more. I feel like that difficulty makes it feel all the more fulfilling when they're finished. So I'm gonna read this one, but it is about school shootings, or the second part is about school shootings. So if anyone doesn't want to hear that, you can just mute the Zoom. It should be over in just about a minute or two. This is American Sonnet for a Machine Gun. Our metal arm of liberty up high, as kings lay bleeding where they stood and lied. In soot they labor, lacking wealth or why. So honor steel, revolt be dignified. And the instrument of our freedom will be the bullet threads the wound, the new nation. Honor the golden gun, alas, home free. Our arm we bear, the key to salvation. There are bells and weeping heard far. In teachers' arms our children bleeding red, and the lives of young are bought and sold like tar to serve the venal few who never bled. For man is sick and hurt and destitute, the bared arm a danger to refute. There's that one. Thank you. Okay, and then just to hurry up and read something else so that we don't have to end on that note. This is one I wrote when I was visiting my friend where he lives in New England, and we were touring some colleges around there. And it was just really beautiful. So this is one that I wrote in Amherst, which has been the town of so many amazing poets whom I love. This is for spring in New England. The ice ties my feet to the wooden floors, like it always did Emily Dickinson, laid to rest at that investment estate in Amherst, Massachusetts, clean and Protestant. Like our hands, always being rinsed in the ice, because it was soon to be spring, everything melting or being baptized. So I trimmed the grass to impress the prophets, visiting in clouds of snow, in the shapes of quivering dough, moose who dragged their ponderous reflections, all while chained down by shallow roots. My blood clots and slows, pours onto the tabletop and sears an imprint in the shape of a cross, some harbinger of deprivation, pools in my empty stomach. What prophets could we be one day, our two minds soldiering on, well-made machines with gears that dance together as one, when the weather is right? At least I am not the robin who hung by his throat, tangled in the branch that was also long dead, how he swayed in the April wind. And as I was reading that, I realized that that wasn't a happy one either, but I think it's okay. Thank you guys so much. I'm gonna mute myself now. Thank you.
Well, such a strong reading, Finn. Truly engaging and moving. Before I say anything more, let's unmute and take a moment to share kind praise with our talented Youth Poet Laureate, Finn, here. Please go ahead.
Wonderful poems. I enjoyed listening to you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Finn, for your vulnerability and sharing some personal aspects of your life. It really, it touched me. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Ben, I remember the first time that I ever read before a group, and it's a tough thing to do, but for both you and Caylie, when your courage grows to be even half of what your talent already is, you will be a force to be reckoned with beyond what you already are. So keep writing. It was a wonderful reading. I was very impressed and very moved.
That's inspiring. Thank you. I appreciate that.
But wonderful imagery, and you're a great reader. You really put across your poems beautifully.
Thank you.
Oh, and also, like I know, like your poems are really moving to me as well. But like I really appreciated when you mentioned that like you were just like Googling synonyms to find like the right words for the poem. And I thought that was so relatable. Like I do that a lot too.
You got it. I keep it real.
All writers do that, sorry.
Yeah.
Exactly. All of us could relate to that. So thanks for sharing that, Finn. And what an incredible reading. Just to echo everybody's thoughts here, I love how your poetry really draws us into those intimate, reflective, and often poignant moments of everyday life. And I also really appreciate your keen eye for detail and the way you capture the world from the perspective of a young person, especially navigating complex emotions and experiences. So well done. Just to put out some lines that connected with so many of us here, from the first poem that you began with on plein air, you will hear the ocean when I'm in the open air, waves mold into the hands of prayer. And I love the poem about age as well. Nothing could leave in the stunted quiet. Age is in the order in which we sit at dinner. Wow. I love how you also spoke about age demands I show forgiveness, how you concluded your poem with that. And the next pieces as well that followed, resting in the wombs of forest. And the experiment with the sonnet, I must say it was pretty successful. Well done for that and for trying it out. I especially enjoy working in forms a lot, working in fixed forms. And the thing about working with forms is that you start to discover a liberation in that limitation. And when you are successful at achieving that combination, I think it is quite exhilarating as a poet. So yeah, keep working on that skill as well, and you know when to break off from it, and you will always know that instinctively as well. But I love that with the longer pieces you feel nervous. I feel nervous reading them as well, but taking time is the key, and you read it beautifully, both of you. Caylie and Finn, you are such great readers of poetry, and I always feel that along with being a good writer of poems, if you're especially putting your work out and engaging with the audience and reading for a public, you work on that skill as well of presenting your piece, which reaches everyone in the most effective way. And both of you did that so well. So yeah, now let's switch gears for a moment and have a short conversation so we can hear a bit more about how you write, what inspires you, and what shapes your poems. I'll just spotlight both of you together so all of us can be there. Okay, there we are. So yeah, let's begin by exploring what it means to put art into action in connection with our theme tonight, Youth Arts in Action. Tell me, when you think about poetry as action, what comes to mind, especially in relation to, let's say, since both of you have been actively sharing poetry in your communities. For instance, most recently, Caylie, Daly City is seeking a new YPL, and you just gave a presentation about the DC YPL program. And Finn, you just co-created a workshop with another SCC teen poet at the Felton Library on analyzing wartime poetry. And my question to both of you is, as a Youth Poet Laureate, how do you see poetry as a form of action, a way for young people to shape conversations or bring about the change in their communities? Either of you can go first.
I'll start. I think when I think about the use of poetry, I think about it more in contrast of I think other what's the word I'm looking for? I think about a lot like statistics and journalism, like the ways that we try to communicate with people. Maybe like the ways that we try to make a point or explain something in context, right? We use facts and arguments. Um, but it's impossible to get someone to truly understand what's an issue. Like for example, you read at the start a wonderful poem by Amanda Gorman about climate change and those kinds of
Right.
issues. You see all the time online and stuff like statistics about habitat loss and things, but it's difficult for someone who's wondering, oh, why is climate change important, to truly understand that until maybe they read a poem like that, or they read a poem from someone whose home has been destroyed in fires or some other kind of climate disaster. So I think that's what I think about when I think about using poetry as action. And as Youth Poet Laureate, I know that I'm representing specifically the youth of my community. So when we do specifically local, I read a lot of poems that were very personal to me tonight, but when I do local readings, I try to take that into consideration, and I read a
Right.
lot of poems, a lot about climate change, considering I live very close to where the CZU fire struck, and I
Yeah.
believe we all live, we all were affected by the California fires. And I think that environmentalism is the thing that's very important to my generation in general. So I try to just keep those things in mind because I think that is, I'm going to stop myself rambling now, but I think that's kind of like the purpose of sharing is to get people to understand a perspective.
I hear you, and very wisely put. Finn, I'm glad you're thinking of all these aspects when reading at particular events and reading in particular spaces. So it makes a lot of sense the way you present your poems for a certain group and also how you connect with them. For example, if you're putting out the workshop for teens specifically, you are working on that aspect of it, how to reach young people and give them an opportunity to have these conversations or bring these topics into conversation. So really glad you shared that. Caylie, go ahead.
So this is like partly kind of piggybacking off of what Finn said.
Yeah.
Because like I also see poetry as a way to kind of like um explain like complex emotions and concepts when like regular prose can sometimes fall short. Um, because poetry is it's a very like performance-based kind of writing form, at least a lot more like in relation to prose. And I've noticed that every time like I would like maybe post one of my poetry readings online, like I get a lot of like youth, especially like people within my school and like people in my community, they always like kind of message me like saying like, oh, like your reading was so great, like how can I like kind of get involved in the same way? And that kind of conversation is something that like I really appreciate because like poetry, it's an art form that like a lot of people like even though it's not really something that everyone is going to understand,
Right.
um I think there's like a part of each one of us that understands that um it's sharing a very personal part of who we are. So that's kind of like my view on it.
Absolutely, Kaylee. And yeah, I think the more you guys share and talk about your work, and as not just work in aspects of the poetry that you write, but your work as Youth Poets Laureate. I feel it gives everybody around you an opportunity to learn more about these things, learn about the programs that are happening in our cities and counties. And yeah, as we speak, I'm also sharing links to these fantastic YPL programs. If you'd like to know more about them, Daly City has one and Santa Cruz County has one as well. And it's so amazing if you happen to be at any of these places or you hear about them and you go to the commencement events for these events. It's such a fantastic chance to hear our youth who are writing today and who are presenting, and it's open to public, these commencement events. So make sure you watch out for them or look out for these events happening in your cities or counties, those who have the YPL programs. But yeah, on behalf of everyone here listening to you, Caylie and Finn, I'd like to say how inspiring it is to hear you connect words to purpose. And I've always believed in this blend of artistry and advocacy, which is so powerful. Moving on to the next question, as I mentioned earlier, this month celebrates National Arts and Humanities Month as well, a time to honor creativity in all its forms. So, beyond poetry, what role have the arts played in giving you a sense of agency, that confidence or power you express yourself with, and make your voice heard through all the creative work that you do, even if it's not poetry and it's painting or playing music or doing a sport activity? I know you do cross country as well, Caylie. So it's fantastic that you hone all of these aspects of your personality. But in particular, what role have the arts played in giving you that voice and agency?
I was actually gonna mention like part of like my cross country experience as well. So like thank you, Monica, for pointing that out as well.
Sure.
Because um like speaking about like my experience running, I've definitely like had like moments where I wasn't enjoying the sport as much as I would before. Like I'd say now like I enjoy it a lot. Like it's I'd say it's like the team is like kind of like a family to me. Like we joke around a lot and I get to be like really like loud in like the best way possible. And it's kind of something that like mirrors my experience with poetry because when um when I wasn't feeling as satisfied with my cross country journey, I turned to poetry as a way to kind of like ground myself in my emotions. And that kind of gave me that sense of agency in that, you know, like I have like a medium that could tell my story and could kind of just like sort everything out before my mental health just kind of like spirals out of place. So, yeah.
Pipe in on that, Finn.
I really liked that that comment. I would say that I think I have I wait, give me a moment. Um the arts came into my life, I feel like later than maybe for some other people. Just in the sense that I grew up in a very strict household where it was very strict on what we were allowed to read, what we were allowed to, music I was allowed to listen to, how I was allowed to dress. Um, and that was I was living with my mom, and now I live with my dad. And now I take like a weird sense of pride in, you know, the art that I have on my walls, or the music posters, or the diversity of my book collection. Um, because I know that not everyone is able to have access to that. And I think even though I'm still building on what my voice is, how to express it, you know, I paint, but like sometimes I struggle to I feel like paint in a way that represents what I'm really thinking about. Like I'm trying to do a self-portrait right now, and I feel like I'm struggling to like really get across how I'm feeling. Um, but what gives me confidence is the voices of other people that I've learned to really admire. Um, yeah, I think that's mostly like the things that I love to read and music I like to listen to. So yeah, I think that's the importance of the arts to me. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful, both of you. I really like that you have appreciation, genuine appreciation for what you have now and what you are able to create, carrying all the experiences that you are gaining on the way. And it's amazing how different art forms can nourish the same spirit of voice and belonging, right? And I'm really glad that you are working on that voice and sharing it with so many of us around here. It's really important that not just the youth, but all of us who are growing in the same world, we get to hear each other more and just know each other a little more through the work and the different ways we just be in the world. So thank you for doing that. Tell me if you can share a moment now when your poetry connected with someone or made a visible impact, whether it's big or small, within your school, city, or community. Do you have any anecdotes or any experiences that you would like to share?
Um, uh, I was thinking about um when I first read that. I've only read that poem Age twice, but the first time I read it was at this small poetry circle about a month ago that I dragged my friend along to. And and when I read it, it was really difficult because it's partially about the death of my cousin Mary. And was I started tearing up a little bit while I was reading it. And then afterwards I went to go meet up with my friend, and she was kind of crying too because she had lost someone a few years ago. And I'd known it, but neither of us had really talked about it. And I think that's one of those horrible feelings that it's really important not to be alone in. And I was really grateful in a weird way for that poem to bring us together like that. And I know that poetry does that on such a broader scale with so many people. Um, and I think yeah, I don't know. If that makes sense. That's not I
It
wouldn't
does.
say, I don't know if that's like a big impact on my community, but that was I think just like being able to connect like that is one of the strengths of poetry. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, big or small doesn't matter, but how deep or profound that impact is, and what kind of mark it leaves on you, especially when you receive that kind of appreciation or that connection, which can be very brief but very intimate. And although we often think that certain experiences happen to just us and why me, when you start sharing that and share that vulnerability, like someone really nicely pointed out in our audience as well, that you're sharing your vulnerability through your poetry. When you're doing that, it especially becomes all the more meaningful because you're also connecting universally with someone who has probably shared a similar experience or haven't had a way of expressing themselves or sharing that grief that they have had, but they can do that through you and through your work. So yeah, kudos on doing that. Caylie?
Yeah, and kind of like adding on to that, like, I really appreciated when you said, um, well, like, it's sort of like poetry is like a way where you can be like honest with yourself, and like that connection really like breaks down a lot of boundaries with a lot of people, and it's kind of like it's kind of a theme in like something that someone told me as well. Um, I remember I was I think it was like one of the first few poetry performances I did. I was still in middle school at the time, and it was kind of like for a small school event. And that's kind of how like a lot of like people from the middle school I went to, that's how they like learned of my name and like what I like to do. Um, and then like fast forward a few years later, I was in freshman year of high school,
Mhm.
and um I hadn't really thought of like um many of the middle schoolers I met before, but I posted a performance of one of my poetry readings, and um one of the sixth graders, she messaged me and she was like, um she was saying that like I really appreciate like the kind of work that you put into this poetry, and like I know you probably don't know me, but like I want to know like how do you get so good at writing? And when I read that for the first time, I kind of like started tearing up. Like it's hard to explain, but at the time I was kind of like experiencing like kind of like a slump with my poetry. Like I struggled with like finding passion again in what I do, and I wouldn't say it's like that now, but like it definitely does happen at some point. And I think also like sometimes as poets we get like so lost in like the competition aspect of
Mm.
poetry, like submitting to like these poet laureate competitions and like other publications, that we kind of forget that poetry is like an outlet for all of us. And
Mhm.
it's a really like connecting art form. So yeah.
Yeah. Well put, Kaylee. So beautifully expressed, and I'm really proud of the way you have grown and the way you have shared about your growth as well. And same for you, Finn. I feel so proud, even we haven't, although we haven't met, or I have read your work before online that is available, and I can feel that growth in your writing as I read from or transition from one piece to another. And both of you are so wise beyond the words. And what I really appreciate here is that I see both of you, uh, you know, the art of being present. You are looking more outward than inward and cultivating a deep sense of empathy. So I really appreciate that. It's always hard to find it, and we always feel that, oh, the younger generation might not understand what the world is going through or what everyone is going through. But I'm glad that you're bringing more meaning to it. And these are such meaningful moments, right? They remind us of why art matters beyond the page. And what I really like is that you are taking it forward beyond the page and beyond the classrooms. So yeah, kudos to you and bravo on that. Um I think, yeah, coming to my final question, uh, with all that collective energy, I feel we are moving towards just the future and looking toward the future. How do you hope to continue using poetry and the arts as tools for connection, for empathy, like I said, and for transformation in your communities and beyond?
Um, I wanted to say that like using like poetry, I know I mentioned that it's a tool of like connection, but like building on like the empathetic aspect of it, like it's something like even how do I put this? Like for example, whenever you might like read a poem in like different languages, for example, like even though you might not understand it, like because of like um the very like performance aspect of it, you could
Hmm.
really feel like the kind of heart and soul that someone might put into their
Hmm.
poem that kind of like goes past any language barriers that anyone might have. And
Yeah.
I know that's definitely reached out to like people in my school as well. Like I have a friend who writes poetry in Burmese, and he hasn't like shown me any like performances of them yet, but like just like the way he like describes them is like really beautiful. And yeah.
Very true. Very true. Finn?
I think that's a really beautiful way to talk about it. How, yeah, the performance, the emotion that you can hear in poetry really does just transcend all those barriers. I think that's like a really beautiful part of it. Um, I was the questions about the future, how we plan to take the future. How, sorry, well,
Yeah, how
I kind of
in your
lost it
own
when I
way,
was
how do
listening
you,
to
in
Katie.
your own way, how do you plan to continue using poetry or other aspects of the art as tools of connection?
Right. Should I have to plug in my, sorry. Uh, I think that poetry is just I wanted to I was thinking about community.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about how art isn't like created in some vacuum in your basement.
Yeah.
It's created from your community. And something that I really want to do, perhaps as a job, as something that when I'm older, I really want to dedicate myself to, is returning art to the community and events that
Mm-hmm.
really engage the community, whatever community I come to be a part of, to um, get the experience of whether it's poetry or something that we do here in Santa Cruz. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
they do it in Belmont, is they open studios
Mm-hmm.
where like
Tell us more about it, Finn.
yeah, so all over our county for a couple weekends every fall, artists open their homes and people can come in and see all of their art and go and look through their studios. And like it just passed, so I just was going to a couple this past weekend, and I remembered how growing up it was like my favorite thing ever. Um, I loved it. And I think that is such a great example of like returning the art to the community that it came from and returning that experience and those memories and that joy. Like I love going to open studios where maybe it's paintings of local places. I went to one and it was a lot of paintings of right around our community, places that I've been to, that I grew up around. And the lady was like giving out free prints. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I'm going to treasure this forever. This is a painting of the park that I spent like practically my entire freshman year at. So I think, yeah, that's how I think about it. In the future, I really want to participate like that or like this, like hosting an open mic for the community, like doing things that yeah, I think that's a good how I like to put it. Return the art to the community it came from.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
paying it forward.
mhm.
No, that's fantastic, and it's so amazing, Finn. Thanks for sharing that about the open studios. There is something like that happens around the San Mateo County as well, and there are open studios. So it's such an amazing thing when all art forms of different kinds and people come together. And I'm really glad that you are both thinking in terms of giving back to the community in your own ways. But Caylie and Finn, thanks again for sharing your voices with us tonight. I think taking the step to apply for the Youth Poet Laureate position reminds us that art isn't just about reflection, but also about action. And I'm so glad that both of you took that first step and you are now serving in this role and contributing with both poetry and purpose. So, yeah, let's celebrate these brilliant youth poets once again with a round of applause. If everybody would like to unmute and
Yeah,
make the applause heard. Thank you. Thank you again. Any final words, Finn and Caylie?
I just wanted to say, oh, sorry, Kaylee, did I?
It's okay. It's okay,
I
go
just
on.
wanted to say thank you really quick to everybody for having us. This has been really awesome. You guys have been like really wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Finn.
And you're
And
not
also like
with us yet.
Yes, Caylie?
okay. And also thank you to you, Monica, for hosting all of this. And also as like kind of like a message to that girl who like messaged me about my poetry. Like thank you so much. You really you really like made my day. And like I hope like whether or not you see this or not, like you really like had an impact on me. So thank you.
Thank you, Kaylee. That's yeah, I feel so grateful for both of you. And you just stole my line. You both made my day by giving such a fantastic reading and such an open conversation. I wanted it to be free flowing, and we went a little longer than I expected. But I'm so glad that you both were so open in your sharing and with each other as well. And I hope that we get an opportunity to meet in person as well sometime and celebrate together. Well, on that note, I hope you can stay with us for a little while as we move into the open mic segment of the evening. We
Yeah.
might go a little longer than usual, but since we have another youth poet reading and waiting for us on the open mic, it'll be wonderful to have you there. If you can't stay all the way through and need to step away for schoolwork or any other commitments you have, that's completely fine. Just drop a line to me in the chat if you need to leave midway. And if that sounds good, let's take you off the spotlight for now. And with that, we are going to stop recording this segment. Those of you who are in the Zoom room, please stay online for the open mic segment of the evening. To the YouTube audience, thanks for joining in and hope to see you for the final poetry night of this series. For anyone who missed my earlier announcement, this November's poetry night would be the last virtual event of my Poet Laureate term. It's been such an amazing and meaningful journey, and I'm so grateful to all of you who have been part of it and made this experience truly rewarding. So as a way of sharing gratitude, I'm putting together a special virtual celebration featuring spectacular community poets and a surprise. And I'll also be organizing a farewell event at the Belmont Library in December. So yeah, stay tuned for all the details, and see you next month for the final virtual Belmont Poetry Night with me and our beautiful community. Good night, everyone.